This is our 1978 Ford F-100. It's got some rust. It's not a lot of rust. It's not a little bit of rust. In this video, we're going to be looking at the passenger side rear bed fender thingy. Fender? Maybe? Fender. Anyway, hope you enjoy the project and enjoy this video.
So we know this body line here has to match, so that's on. And then down here where this meets the wheel well, you're going to basically roughly got a general idea where it's going to be. Set that there and cut up the leather chair. I know this is where our finished panel is going to be, so I'm just going to come in like obviously I'll come here where this rust is and maybe just cut it like this. Cut it up here. And I'll stay well below this line for now and cut it down there like that, so that way I get rid of all the rot, but I leave a lot of good metal that we can cut into properly. Let's see what we come up with in behind here. I'm going to try to do it without cutting through the inner wheel well, so I'm just going to take my time and cut that out. So the first thing I need to do is find out where the spot welds are here and drill through them. So I kind of feel them, but I'm going to get another grinder with a flopper wheel and just knock the paint off so that it'll show the spots, and then I can drill through them. I'll cut this nice clean area, and then I'll make a nice straight line up here, and I'll do the same here. We'll drill the tack welds, air chisel this piece off till we find a really good clean starter point like this over there, and then rebuild this inner lip. And it should be fairly flat except for when it comes to these dimples, where we'll just probably, I mean, it's honestly I can either just bend it or fill it in with weld. You're not going to see it as long as we treat all this before we close it up, which is what we're going to do. Should be good. And it's not just a guesswork. We got to use maybe the template from the replacement panel and then trace that onto a piece of metal and cut it out and then hold it up and see how it fits. That's what we need right there.
There you go.
This is just to give us our arch. And the inner wheel well. Okay, so that's that part. And then what I actually need is this part all up in here. This is just waste down here. I know that's close there, but I think it's fine. And then what that will do, once that's on there and welded in, this will of course pocket over top of it, right? I gotta take my time and try to make this curve, because it's usually just pretty good at cutting straight pieces, but I gotta follow that arch perfectly. Ideally, would have been nice to have this a little bit thicker so we go right up and catch this rust. But we're working with what we got. So we're going to cut this here, because that's where we're going to start, because this is good metal from here down, so we don't need to replace that. We're starting there. Guesstimate just how far we need to go. Okay. So that's going to go there. Mark the rusty part. That needs to be cut out. So what we got here now is all solid metal surface rust, but lots to weld to, right? So that's what I was trying to do, is get it to the point where we can just basically replace all that with this. So that's going to go on. And if I weld it as is, it stays completely flush, but that actual wheel well comes out and turns like that. So this just needs to roll over just slightly. In order to do that, I can hand form it over to make it roll over a bit, but it's only going to do so much. So what I might have to do is do some little relief cuts to allow it to roll over, and then just weld them up after it's in place. As I said, it needs to come down and follow some of that, right? So that's all I'm doing is I'm curving that so that it'll actually bend out and match. Just keep curving it. But in order to do that without distorting it too much like that, see how it's curving? I might have to do 2 relief cuts. And I can probably do them right where these dimples are. So I'll do a relief cut there and a relief cut there. This will hold it. Now, like, there's a couple places that are flush. So I was able to tack them just to hold it in place. But this metal doesn't match the underneath perfectly. So what you do is you get a couple of spots where they're flush or where you can just cut through. And then from this point forward, use this new metal to ride on top of, to cut the old. So just to follow the disc along. And that way, as I do it, the new metal will fold in perfectly, fall in perfectly, almost like a guide to the old metal, and I'll tack as I go. See how it's like flush now right here? I'm gonna tack all the way along there. As I tack down here, the metal twists as it heats, and now it's hitting here, so I have to cut a little bit more, just leave myself enough of a gap to tack it all the way down. And then just keep manipulating the metal as I go. So I just finished this section here, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit with the flapper wheel. And then what I'm going to do is it's like the cut and butt, so I cut through and then tack welded. And then I'm going to come up and do this section, and then I'm going to finish with that section. This would normally take a lot longer because I think you're supposed to like really tack, and then you skip 6 inches, tack, skip 6. But because this is not a panel I'm worried about, this is just an extension, like rust repair underneath, I'm not as concerned. I am still tacking it. I'm tacking probably a little faster than you should if you're going to do an outside panel. We have to actually weld on this flange. Good old Fitzy's fabrication again. Teaches you to build the panel, and then like you can weld the lip on after. You can do the corner. So you weld it on all the way, tack it first, and then you weld it all in, and then you grind it smooth on both surfaces, and it actually turns into a nice 90-degree angle. And this is all going to be covered anyway, but that's what we're going to try. This is going to be a guess. Keep moving now. Like back here, a couple there, but most of it's all good. So I'll just touch those ones up and then grind them, and we'll be done. And see how it kind of warps a bit?
Yeah.
Because it's not perfect, right? But as I cut into this piece, it'll follow the same contour, so it's not going to matter.
Yeah, you're just tracing it.
Yeah. I think that's probably good this way. These panels are never exact, right? So push in on it and tack it in some places like that. Gotta let it relax in here, so I gotta cut through here so it'll fall in, because it's built out quite a bit here, right? There we go. See how it went in? push in flush and tack that down and work my way around this corner. Easy that falls into place. So now I just need to work this corner to make that fall in along like that. Hold that and keep going and work my way around. That went in there nicely. Like that, considering that like goes down like that, has to be cleaned up, of course, because it's kind of crappy looking welds. There's such a big gap there, but I've got it all flush, so it's just a matter of filling it in now. I just gotta let it cool before I continue filling it and then grind it off. That's perfect there. Cut button, and so basically you're really flush along here now. And so once we weld all this up and grind it down, you should only need a little bit of putty to
Make it all smooth.
There's no lap weld, right?
This is what it looks like. It actually ended up really good. There's no laps, nothing. It's all nice and smooth. It's like it's one panel now. But there is one problem. It might be hard to see on camera, but it goes in. It dips in, and it's the panel. Same with up here. You can feel it. It dips in. So we're gonna have to redo all of this, unfortunately, but that's for another time. I'm gonna wrap this video up with this. We'll fix it off camera. But other than that, it was done well. It's just unfortunate that we pushed the whole panel in when we were doing it. Anyway, that's for another day.